All right, Pikachu Jones went in there um, and asked me a question of if most YouTube atheists, I thought they're anti-SJWs. And I don't know. I only observed the atheist community from the side. I thought they're logical. Their argumentation was ridiculous. Their understanding of metaphysics and philosophical issues related to religion. And they're debating things that are really solved 100 years ago. Longer, 110, 120s of years ago. And that nobody's really taken seriously these issues for a long time. Of course, this is street philosophy, and in the street, people have still faced religion relatively recently. And what I notice is your Aaron Ron, he seems like a good guy, but he went to seminary school. I mean, almost every single one of them was religious growing up, and then the ones that weren't, um, you know like the Amazing Atheist, I don't know, ostensibly soaked in a religious area, like I was in Colorado, where there was kids that thought the atheism was a made-up thing just to scare them by the priest, uh, because nobody said you were an atheist. And so if you grew up a place like that in some suburbia where people were fake Christians but all said they believed, I imagine that's the Amazing Atheist. So they're reacting to it, and they were it. They went to seminary school. That's one reason they are willing to quote Bible verse just to do something with all the verses that got stuck in there. And I imagine they are probably a lot of those kinds of atheists anti-SJW because they were just theists a little while ago, and that's how atheists change. And people like to say, I'm the opposite word now. Yeah, but you're still just an apple that just fell from a tree that is right there. And you rolled a little bit down the hill, and now the sun's shining on you, and you're rotting faster. I like the turn that metaphor took. But you're not very far from the whole gamut, right? Like, I grew up atheist. My parents, it was the 70s, and they didn't bring up the fact much that they were religious. I slowly found out that they had some religious thoughts later on in life. My dad with some hippie Jesus kind of stuff going on, and but more or less agnostic-y as he got older, and my mom going born again and whatnot. And then saying she was always religious. And okay, you never mentioned to me when I was a kid for those 17 years at home. So I thank you for that. Thanks for, pausing it. That was good. But coming from that kind of perspective and then tuning into the literature of philosophers that have been over it for, like I said, 100 years, it's just a different perspective, right? My version of progress is many, many things. The inevitability of the death of taking religion seriously is just something I take for granted. The weird thing is that it's still going on now. So I liked to see the YouTube atheism, in a country where you have to say you believe in God to become president. On the other hand, let's face it, there's been atheist presidents and plenty of agnosticism and various kinds of mystical Christianity that's just not the kind of religion that's a problem. So it's not the main thing in that's causing us problems in this world, which is the way that we're filthy, filthy rich, this planet, and we just don't want everybody to have a decent life, even though there's plenty of resources for that. It's kind of a weird thing, and religion's not going to solve it, but it's also not the fault of religion. Yeah, Gary, one of the three questions that Forever Wolf Films asks is, should you euthanize your pets because, I don't know, because antinatalism or something? And Gary told the story of sometime he did have two cats put to sleep just to, avoid the whole thing, because eventually they're going to have a bad day. And I found that brought that question to life, and also becomes a way that I can explain that I think we should embrace life and the positivity of living life if we want to, right? Not if we don't want to. I believe in the right to suicide. I believe the right to suicide is a fundamentally important thing to enjoy a life with. I think that a sick animal that so-called loses its will to live and stops eating, shortening the day to its demise on purpose, is fundamentally like any other kind of suicide, and that this is a right that we have. And that does not mean life is not worth living. It was whoever gave the expectation that you had to go on forever in order for something to be worthwhile. Well, I would just say that's some sort of dementia that we've formed. So, if antinatalism is not a suicide cult, I think there's a good argument that it should be. Because at the point that you're going to kill other sentient beings that you admit are sentient, have their own desires and opinions, and you're going to kill them for your own good, I don't see any difference between that and killing sick human beings for their own good against their will or not, or mentally disabled people, or other people. It's just not your right. And if your misery in life has given you the delusion that you think that that is your right or even obligation, that is a reason not to have that philosophy. All right, so ends the triple thing, and I'm just not gonna watch videos where Gary starts off bitching and whining and moaning and saying how it's all useless, but he's gonna do it anyway. Well, I think it felt pretty useless at that moment. I'll judge at every moment because I've been watching plenty of Gary's other videos. Some of his crazy science videos he's been putting out there now. It's just, he reminds me just of that Theoria guy as well, too, just to kind of, those other people, those scientists are so arrogant. Don't you hate arrogant people? Don't you hate non-self-reflective people? Anyway. Yeah. Alright. Cheers, Damaged Soul, and everybody else who might watch in the future. Oh, well, yeah, he's entertaining, but, that might not be the nicest thing that you enjoy watching, that angst, because he's in pain. You're watching misery. He's giving people joy through watching his misery, which could be interpreted as turning misery into something positive, but given his antinatalist philosophy, it isn't that. It's a pure tragedy. Those that are giving him support by enjoying what he does, giving him an audience, are enjoying watching his misery, his pain that he feels trying to deal with my opinions and Brett Keene's opinions. That's what they enjoy, his misery and watching him scream and wail in pain. And that's tragic, right? So that's how he's getting the positive feedback he's getting, is through the fact that people are cruel and want to see that. Because most people are not watching him like me, just striving for those moments where he's lucid. Because most people aren't even trying to talk to him. Most people that are watching him are just watching him, and they are getting a vicarious thrill off of his suffering. So that's another reason. It's a counterproductive movement. All right, cheers. Oh, hey, Don Katz loves me. How you been doing? All right, I guess I've seen you around here. I said it like it. You haven't been around, but I don't think I've seen you in the comments though. Why is Piro doing what? Making videos? Why is Piro doing this? As far as this video, I said I'm going to make videos saying why life should be lived by those that want to.